What is up, guys? Eric here at TeamEccenTrick, and I'm bringing you guys my MERMAIL update for January 2020 going into February of 2020. This deck is basically seeing a bit of a resurgence now that the entire meta from the past, I'd say about year and a half to 2 years, has been absolutely obliterated on the most recent ban list. As I'm sure you guys know, Thunder Dragon Colossus got banned, which was actually this deck's main problem, as well as Salamander Magistelio got banned, Sky Striker Mobilize Engage got banned, Harp Horror got banned, even rogue decks like like Pendulum with Electromite and Carta Demise and things like that. Like literally the entire meta and even the majority of Tier 2 and Rogue got just upended and just uprooted and shifted all the way into a new format. So that being said, this deck has seen quite a bit of changes, and now we don't have to worry about Colossus being this deck's bane. It just makes things a lot easier. That being said, I'm sorry for not bringing you guys content. I've been sick. I had the flu for a little while, and I'm also type 1 diabetic, so that being said, when you get the flu as a type 1 diabetic, it kind of throws your blood sugars off and makes you even unhealthier than the normal person with the flu. So I was in the hospital for about a day. And that being said, when I got home, I had to take care of myself. And even now, I'm still kind of under the weather. So just bear with me, guys. I apologize if I cough throughout the profile. Just bear with me. I'll get through it. Don't worry, I can breathe. Just give me a moment. So with all that being said, we're going to get right into the profile. We're going to start off with the main deck, obviously. So starting it off, obviously we're playing the triple Neptibus. That goes without saying. You know, Neptibus is obviously the best card in the deck. Second best card in the deck is triple Atlantean Dragoons. Then from there, 2 heavy infantry and 1 marksman. Obviously a pretty concise Atlantean package. I feel as if with Pot of Avarice being also back off the ban list, that adds value to the Atlanteans because you can shuffle them back and keep reusing your Neptibuses, and that to me is really nifty. So we're definitely playing only 1 copy of marksman, 2 copy of heavy infantry. Before Avarice, there was an argument that could be made to play 3 heavy infantry so that you can make Galatia and, you know, have more infantries to start discarding as hand traps effectively, but I just feel as if that's now with Avarice kind of a flawed argument. But continuing on, we have triple MERMAIL Teus. This is one of our best combo pieces, obviously, we all know this. This in Dragoons still has combo. Moving on, we have triple of the OTK card, Triple Abyss Megalo. Obviously this punches for a lot of damage as well as searches a spell negate. So that's really strong. Moving on, we have 1 Gund, 1 Dine, 1 Pike, 1 Mander. Honestly, this lineup, like, I'll be honest, I don't care a lot for this lineup, but at this point you kind of have to play it because with Abyss Dine, it just kind of adds value to Abyss Gund in making link climbing plays so that you can get into your Apollosa as soon as humanly possible. That way you don't get Nibiru'd, but then in those scenarios, sometimes you end up with more than 5 waters in grave, and that sucks. So like, there's a lot of weird, wonky things that you have to kind of mold your plays around and kind of go down certain lines of play in order to play this deck effectively. But that being said, these are all still valuable cards. Mander being probably my personal favorite, just making calamities. It's still really, really good, especially now actually, because now there's not, you know, as many of the decks that use monster effects cannot get through calamities at the moment, and also, unfortunately, I will say though that back row decks are gonna see a bit of a resurgence with Red Reboot going to 1. So, but either way, that's the MERMAIL component of the deck. You know, if you have any constructive criticisms of that, obviously leave it in the comment section below. Moving on, we play triple Swap Frog. Frog package is still way too strong. I mean, just starting off, you know, doing a totally awesome opening play can really, you know, shift the game in your favor and kind of put you ahead of your opponent in terms of advantage, especially setting their cards to your field. So that's something. And then obviously the Ronin Totem, that goes without saying if you're playing the Frog package. Moving on, the card that recently came to 2 that really helps this deck out quite a bit, double Deep Sea Diva, and then 1 Mooling Glacier. Deep Sea Diva at 2 is really, really nice. You see it more often. It gets your plays online a lot more, as well as it allows you to make synchro plays a lot more easily. The only issue that I feel Diva is when you see multiples of it in your hand in really weird scenarios, because sometimes you'll see Diva and you'll see another Diva and then you have to discard the one Diva in order to get your Megalos or whatever off in order for you to, you know, perform your combo. So that can be kind of weird, but other than that, I mean, double Diva is like mandatory. If you're not playing more, you know, at the maximum amount of Deep Sea Diva you can, you're not playing Mermails correctly. Mooling Glacier obviously gains a lot of value now that Dangers aren't as relevant, as well as Thunder Dragons effectively being out of the meta. This card literally is playable again. I mean, before, you obviously play this card because it's obligatory, but with things like Thunder Dragons and Dangers and those cards, and in the meta at that, you know, last format, this card really was not as relevant. I even saw deck profiles that cut it, which, I mean, I think the card is too obscene to cut in any water list, but that's, you know, some people just, I mean, I can't really disagree with their logic in that, you know, at least in last format. But moving on, we have hand traps, triple Phantasme, triple Ash Blossom. Thing about Phantasme is it's not going to be as relevant come April. And it, you know, even if it is a little bit expensive, a little bit pricey at the moment, you can always replace it with like other water cards, or maybe even Ghost Ogres or Veilers, Impermanences. There's a lot of things you can switch out for the Phantasmes. You can switch in, you know, other Mermail cards, like you can switch in Lapis Dragon, you can switch in Lead, you can switch in Lin Sphere. There's a lot of different things you can do, but I'm just playing the Phantasmes because I'm kind of dedicating this deck to go second more than anything, only because I don't like getting Nibiru turn 1. That feels horrible. So I figure that going second and then letting my opponent do their plays, and then if they link summon, then I get to kind of rebuild my hand and kind of sculpt my hand around future lines of play. I feel like that is the optimal way to play this deck, at least right now. I mean, that's my personal opinion. Ash Blossoms obviously are the standard. You know, negate, just no hand trap, just no. So that's it for the monsters in the deck. Moving on to the spells, double Instant Fusion, double Call by the Grave. These are the only multiples of spells that I play. I don't like to play 3 Call by the Grave or 3 Instant Fusion at the moment. Call by the Grave specifically because it's a minus, and if you see multiples of it, it bricks you really, really hard. Instant Fusion, however, excuse me, an argument can be made after January 30th when Clothy comes out to play 3 Instant Fusion, because if you see Instant Fusion Diva, that is a 2-card combo in and of itself. As seen on Abyssshire YGO's channel, there's a 2-card combo that just allows you to build a really, really crazy board. I will leave a link to that channel in the description below. Be sure to check that channel out, guys. That person has really cool insight into the Mermail deck, really good combo, you know, a really good sense for combos and how to perform them with this deck. But I feel like Instant Fusion at 2 right now is just relevant, at least until January 30th when we get Clothy. Then I'd bump this to 3 and then switch out some of the Instant Fusion targets as well, because that will be relevant. So moving on, we have 1 Abyssgale of the Mizuchi. These are all the 1-of spells, by the way. 1 Abyssgale of the Mizuchi, searchable off of Megalo, of course. 1 for 1. Obviously, it's another copy of Neptibus. Pot of Avarice, newly off the ban list. Just a card that allows you to recycle all of your Atlanteans, or if you're doing like a crazy combo, there have been combos where I'll have the 5 waters, drop Moulin, and then shuffle all the 5 waters back in, and then get more advantage. It's just really good. And last but not least, 1 Monster Reborn, obviously because it's a revival of any monster in your grave. So moving on, now the extra deck, we have 1 Apollousa, Bow of the Goddess. This is kind of mandatory in any competitive deck, or at least competitive combo deck that you're gonna play. Like, you need to play this just because you need to be able to out Nibiru. And unfortunately, the Psyframes, as much as I love the Psyframe engine, it just isn't consistent enough when, you know, instead of playing that, you could actually have access to an extra deck card that does effectively the same thing, but more than once per turn. So moving on, we have 1 Blacklisted Soldier, Soldier of Chaos, just a card that applies pressure. The fact that you can make this with any Mermail that's level 7 and it becomes untargetable and it can't be destroyed, like, that's a lot of decks actually cannot function around this by themselves, so that's actually something that's really cool. Also, 1 Coral Anemone, obviously you're bringing back water monsters, really, really good. 1 IP Masquerena. 2, if you end on 2 Link 2s, you can just, during your opponent's turn, just link up right into the Apollosa. Then 1 Mermail Abyss Galatia, 1 Miss Starboy, and that is it for the links. I actually ended up cutting Link Karibo. I feel like it's not as relevant right now. Granted, I do think Link Karibo is still a good card overall, so that way you don't like end with Neptibus on your board and any weird wonky combos that you may do, but you generally don't, because you just link the Neptibus off with another water and make like Galatia or Anemone anyway. So I feel like that is the best ratio of links at the moment. Moving on, we have 1 True King of All Calamities. Obviously, power card, you drop this against a monster heavy deck and you're probably going to win. Gaios, effectively a smaller Calamities that can also be equipped with the equip spell, and it makes it so that level 5 or higher monsters on either side of the field cannot attack, and that can actually be relevant in a lot of games as well. So 1 Bahamut Shark, 1 Abyss Dweller, a double Toad. We are playing the Frog package, so 1 Toad for the Frog package, 1 Toad for Bahamut Shark. And then that is it for the Seas monsters, at least for now. Once April rolls around, I will likely play another Bahamut Shark. And I'll probably end up cutting a lot of the links in here, actually. But now we only play 1 Synchro, and that's 1 Brio. Because we were going second, in a scenario where you have Diva and you can get a Megalo on board as well, you can just tribute off the Neptibus, special back the Dragoons you sent to, you know, do your combo, and then after that you can Synchro the Diva and the Dragoons into this, and then just ditch off any other Atlanteans in your hand and just get like free advantage by popping cards as well as bouncing cards. So that's something to consider. You know, it's just a going second card, really. I mean, you could, honestly, you could play the level 8 White Aura Whale, and I was considering it. I was trying to think of a card to take out so that I could play Lapis Dragon, but to be honest with you, I don't like seeing Lapis Dragon in my hand. I feel as if then at that point it becomes a Garnet, and I'm trying to play the least amount of Garnets in my deck as possible. So, you know, I just figured that this is not only that, but this is actually in a way better because you're not only destroying everything, but you're just bouncing everything and getting free advantage off of it by discarding extra copies of Dragoons or heavy infantry in your hand. But now moving on to the fusions, we have 1 Mud Dragon of the Swamp, 1 Millenniumizer Strict. Likely what'll happen is once Clothiep comes out, the Mud Dragon will probably be switched out for Rare Fish. That way we can turn our instant fusions into Nordens, or like proxy Nordens essentially, because Clothiep, what it says is when a monster's fusion summoned to a zone that it points to, and that fusion monster has 1500 or less attack, you can special summon a monster from your graveyard. So then you special summon Dragoons after you instant fusion for Rare Fish, and then you get basically a free Bahamut Shark Toad play. So that's something. And obviously Millenniumize to negate hand traps. There's a little bit of an idea I had behind this deck that I'll show you guys in a moment. That you will see. So that is it for the deck profile in its entirety, other than the side deck, but I'm not going to profile my side deck before any tournaments, obviously. But now I'm going to show you guys kind of like the idea that I have with this deck that kind of makes at least kind of makes me play it in this way. So the reason why I'm playing the Phantasmes in the main deck, as well as the instant fusions, Called by the Graves, is because, let's say for example you're summoning Diva. If you have, say, Called by the Grave and instant fusion, what you can do is you can go instant fusion, Mud Dragon. Now Diva can't be targeted, you have Called by the Grave, so now if they Ash your Diva, you can follow up with Called by the Grave. Or if you have any combination of like these cards, like you can make it so that your play is hedged to the point where your opponent can't target, or your opponent can't just overall negate the card because of Called by the Grave. So it just makes it so that your plays go through no matter what. Because let's say for example you have Mud Dragon as well as Called by the Grave. Well, then at that point, you know, you have the Called by the Grave for the Ash as well as the Mud Dragon for targeting. Let's say for example you have Phantasme on board as well as an instant fusion to go into Millenniumize. This negates targeting effect by discarding a card, as well as Millenniumize negates a hand trap. So it just allows you to bolster your boards and make it so that your plays are very cohesive and just kind of function no matter what your opponent attempts to do. So It may be flawed theory crafting, but it's theory crafting nonetheless, and at this point, now that the meta has completely shifted, we have 2 divas, I'm really trying to change the stack up and kind of think outside of the box. But I appreciate the views you guys give us. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. I really have been working on this deck for quite a while now that the ban list came out. It's tough getting back to playing Mermail after playing Thunder Dragon for so long. But Eric here at TeamEccenTrick, I'm signing out. Rate and subscribe, leave your comments and ideas in the comment section below, and don't hesitate to give us respectful suggestions on content you want to see. Eric on behalf of the team saying take care, and TeamEccenTrick out.